How you going, guys and girls, and welcome to the channel. So in this episode we're going to be doing some sill panel replacements on my HZ, and I'm going to show you how I go about that. Enjoy. Cheers. So today on the agenda we're going to be replacing the sills on my HZ. Now you might think these ones don't look too bad, which I mean really they don't. I mean like this is still pretty solid, don't get me wrong. But you'll see a little bit down the track in the video of why I am actually going to replace all of these sills, so the whole length. Yeah, without further ado, we'll get stuck into it. Alright, so what I've got there is, I've already got some pre-folded up sill panels. Now I've made them have a little bit more length here because I wasn't quite sure where I was actually going to join them inside the door jamb. And basically I've just gotten, this is just off like a factory cut of a sill panel, and they've just matched the shape. That's in 1.6. Black steel, so hot rolled. Now, to have these cut, folded up, and I bought the rest of the sheet of the hot rolled steel, cost me $100, you know, like, so it's not real expensive to go this way. And these, with the factory thickness, because these are 1.6 and so are these, the ones that you get from Resto and stuff like that, they're like 1.2 at the best, you know. And personally I think they fit absolutely horrible because they're also the thinner sheet. They really fold and they crush around a whole lot, and they're just very tinny, like it's like it's made out of a door skin, you know. But yeah, anyway, that's what I do. I do normally get another bend folded in up the top here, and I normally join them sort of around here. But I think with this one, what I'm going to do is, I've got my trusty tool right here, and I've measured out 10 mil, and I think that's where I want to join this one, just because I think it's going to be a little bit easier to blend all the paint and the repair and stuff in if I just join it up through here rather than up here. So yeah, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to mark out my 10 mil there, and then I'm going to trim that down, and then I will start looking at removing these sill panels, and I'll cut these sort of just on that line there, just so I've got a little bit of room for fitting them up and getting a good consistent nice gap. So yeah, that's where we're at. Hello Naki, I hear you whining. Hey, what are you whining for? Hey, you whining little puss cat. Alright, so I'm not sure how well you guys are going to be able to see it on my dodgy camera angle, but these sill panels from factory, they've never always been perfect. I've checked a few cars and they've always had a little bit of something going on. Like this one's got, not sure if you can see that on camera, but sort of around in this area here, it actually sticks out further than the rest of the sill. So there's a little bit of movement in the straight edge here, which is not really uncommon, but always try and get them as straight as possible with your replacements. But also keep in mind that these cars are never perfect, so if you go and put one thing that's in alignment, you know, it might put your doors out of alignment or your dogleg guards, either. So yeah, just bear that in mind. People think I'm joking when I say, you know, I'm welding this in out of alignment or whatever like that on purpose, but I'm really not. I'm just being honest with you guys. Like this stuff is never really that accurate, and even if it's not 100%, you know, it might only be a few mil where you actually be able to tell the difference, which visually you can't. So yeah, just another little tip for you guys. That's just something I like to check on before I go and cut the old one away. So we're going to start taking off the sill panel now, and I've cleaned up the bottom edge because that's what I'm going to start on first. Now I've just run some 40 grit over that on the DA, and it's exposed all my little spot welds. Now you could drill them and that's fine, but I find I usually end up drilling a little bit too far, and I don't really want to have to do any more welding on the inner sill than what I have to, if there is any welding to do on the inner sill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind those little spots really thin on this panel, and then I'm going to separate it with the spot weld splitter. Alright, so I'm being a bit of a rookie here. Because of the angle off the dangle and just trying to do, taking the sill panel off on this trolley, which I haven't done before, mind you. Trying to get this, I've lost it now, the bloody spot weld splitter in from the back here. It's just been too hard. Cross that between shit landing in the eyeballs. I think I'm just going to cut it off through here, and then I can unpick that lip from the outside instead of the back side. Just make life a little bit easier for myself, but yeah, as you can see, I've sort of coming along with it. I think most of that's separated. It's just that last little bit, like you can see that one's down to the inner sill there, but I think it's just starting to get the spot weld splitter underneath that lip. It's been a little bit hard, so. Alright, so this thing's been absolutely bellowing out the sand as I've been cutting through the outer face of the sill panel, so I'm going to stick a pry bar in here because there's only a little bit of it still hanging on. Might have to come down this way. Alright, so a bit of sand in there. So that's pretty much the rust holes just there. There's a few little pinholes at the front, another one just there. And then a little bit at the back there. A lot of guys would probably just make up small little patches just for them. Probably cut that one out like that, another one like that. And yeah, this is what's left behind on the inside of the sill. You know? That's the back side. Like I said, there's only a few spots that are really poking their way through, but a lot of that's really thin down there, so it's a lot of heavily scale through that area. Not to mention all the sand. And what happens with how that sand actually gets in there is these holes right here, they connect up with these braces here. What happens is the sand, as you're driving along, the sand will come up in its dust form and it will come up in through that hole and find its way through here and into the inner sill. And that's why they always rust out through here, because they have a lot of dirt which holds the moisture. It's not ideal, so yeah. Unless you've had a car that's been in a shed for a lot of its life, I'd seriously recommend, like if you've got a little bit of rust in your sills, definitely take them off. Like, yeah, you'd be silly not to. Because, yeah, it's a lot of stuff that's come out of this. And honestly, this isn't even the worst one that I've taken apart. I've taken apart far worse cars where they've been absolutely packed full of sand and dirt, and oh, it's unbelievable sometimes. But yeah, this one's not too bad, so yeah, I'm very happy with that. Even the lower pillar where that joins to the sill panel, even that's looking pretty good. I was a little bit suspect because I know they do, they like to rust that out and then they rust out the front of the sill. But yeah, that should all clean up pretty well in there, so yeah, very happy with that. Alrighty, so hopefully I'm filming all the right angles and you'll be able to see what I'm doing. But what I start off with first is I get my vice grips. What I'll do is I'll just bend this down just a little bit, like that, and then bend it the other way, and then bend it the other way, bend it the other way, and bend it the other way, and bend it the other way, and bend it the other way. And that'll sort of open up that gap just a little bit. Alright, so you get the idea. That's how we get that off. Alright, so I've got the bottom half of that sill panel off now. That's all been all cleaned up. So where the little spot welds were, it's looking not too bad. Don't be discouraged by the choppiness of that. That's nothing really to worry about under there, because yeah, that's sort of from factory when they spot weld them, they get awfully crushed together, the inner sill and the outer sill when they do that. So yeah, that's nothing that I've done. That's just how they are. I can straighten that up a little bit with I've got some vice grips that have a very sort of broad clamping apparatus, I suppose you'd call it. But anyway, we'll what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna chuck the actual sill panel that I'm gonna be using, and I'm gonna set it up on here, and then I'm gonna mark out where it fits up inside on the door jamb, and I'm actually gonna get it to start to fit. I've also got to cut it to length as well. I'm going to leave the end of the factory sill panel there because that was still in good nick. And that'll basically give me something to go by, and obviously I won't lose my guard gap or anything like that, so that's all pretty easy. But yeah, I'm going to cut it inside here now and get it actually fitting, so I'll be able to have it fitting in between here and also the dog leg, and then I'll start putting in the finer details. Alright, so I've got the sill panel all fitting up sort of the best I can at the moment. Crack open the door. As you can see, it's all nice and flush here. I mean, there's a few little discrepancies, but like it's not too bad. It's more in the actual in the factory sill than the one I've had folded up, but it's not a drama. We can sort that out. Ended up cutting it a little bit wide just at the top there, but that's fine. We can weld that up. We're playing with thick steel here, so it's not a drama. Close that up. Get the bubble stick, and we'll have a look at it for straightness. Which is not looking too bad. It's actually a little bit better than the factory sill. There's a little bit of something, but I think that might just be because it's not fully pushed up. Right here, there's a little bit of give. You won't be able to pick it up on the camera, but yeah, it's not too bad. The only other real issue I've found is it's a little bit tight here. So I'm going to measure between these points here, front and back, because the front's fine, it's just the back. So they might not have, when I had these folded up, because I didn't fold these, I had someone else done them. I don't have the facilities to fold anything this thick or this long, so I had someone else do them, and yeah, I'm thinking it might just be a little bit wide just through there maybe, but we'll see. I might just have to take a little bit out and sort of just taper that in, just to correct that gap. But the other issue I've got is my dog leg that I've put on. I mean, that's just tacked on, but it's all sort of sandwiched up with the rail work there. It's just a little bit. It's got a little bit of a gap, so it's not quite all the way there. It's fine up through here, because I mean, it does have a little bit of a flare. That's fine, but it's just, yeah, there's a little bit of a gap in there. So I'm thinking rather than try and push all of this sill panel in to meet it, I'm going to have to rework sort of this edge, and I'll have to bring that out and sort of correct it before I even weld this on. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of work, but hey, that's cars, if you hadn't quite noticed just yet, but that's fine. Yeah, it's coming around though, like it's not, like I said, I'm not aiming for perfection on this one, but I am trying to get it as best as I can. With the doors, see, because it's hard, because I don't want to paint the doors or anything like that, I can't adjust any of these sort of like edges, and you might not be able to see it down in the photo, but like, or in the video, but there's lots of choppiness in the actual bottoms of the panels from when they fitted the skin. And what sometimes you need to do is sometimes you just need to knock that edge in just a little bit or out, either. But yeah, obviously because I'm not painting these doors and I don't want to paint them at this stage, I can't do that, so I sort of just have to... bloody air compressor. Anyway, like I was saying, I sort of just need to get it as best as I can at this stage. If I was going to paint them, I could just bring those in and I'd just get it as best as I can, like that. But yeah, because I'm not readjusting or repainting these doors, I can't do that. So I'll just have to get it as best as I can. But yeah, that's where we're at the moment. I'll show you another little thing. Another thing to check for is your alignment when you go along like this. Try and get it as close as to the bottom edge of the door as possible, because obviously if you go up here, that's always going to be higher than what this is and what that is. So somewhere down like that. And just try and make sure that it's as sort of as level as possible. See, I can see there that the back door, oh, the back of the front door is actually in, so the back door's not too bad. It's a little bit of a bent in corner just there, but nothing too serious. Same with that, that's alright, but then the back door, that back corner just there is tweaked out, so, I mean not massively, but just a little bit. Something like if I was going to paint this door, I would just knock that in just a little bit, and then that would fit up a lot nicer with the sill panel, because yeah, it's really just that part of the door just there that's really the issue. So yeah, that's where we're at. So I'm just about to start pressing out the little spot where the factory jacking point was for on these cars on the sill panels, which is this spot right here, as you can see at the back of the sill. That's a driver's side one there. This is also the sort of what I can use as a template for when I get sill panels folded up and stuff like that. But yeah, I like this bit because it's really good in this area. It's been unpicked really nicely. It's got all the factory joins on it. Yeah, all in all, that's a pretty good original sill panel section. So I like to keep that one around. And basically what I do is I get my template like that, or because that's a driver's side one, I use the driver's side of the template like that. Transfer it to my steel, and then I've got these made up. So that's just a bit of pipe that I got, and this is actually a bit of a tow bar, bit of an old tow bar that I've sort of welded into a big nut, which is then welded to a bit of angle line. And yeah, basically I get these cut out, sit them over the bit of pipe, take it over to my press, and I'll just press that out, and it should end up looking something very similar to that. Not 100% perfect, but I mean it's better than it not being there. So yeah, just for that little bit of originality sort of look that I'm going for, yeah, I'll be putting those in. So yeah, I'll show you guys how they turn out. So I just sort of thought I'd show you guys one that's sort of ready to start cutting in and welding. So that's this one, that's how they come up. Once they're all sort of finished off, like I said, needs a little bit of trimming and stuff, and I've got to fit it into the actual sill panel I'm replacing. But this is how they come out of the press. So obviously the metal's got to move somewhere when you're sort of moving that much steel around. So yeah, basically for what I do there is I'll put it in the vise and I'll just straighten it up a little bit, and then I'll just finish it off with the hammer on a bit of I-beam. So yeah, they come up not too bad. Not 100% perfect, but like I said before, definitely better than not being there. So yes, a little bit frustrated though. I ended up bending my tool a little bit. It's got a bit of an arch through here now. That was never straight, but I sort of worked around it. when you're sort of doing this sort of stuff, you don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. You sort of just want to get the job over and done with. So yeah, this was sort of just a bit of a slap together, but it's worked well for the amount of times that I've used it. I might just need to sort of do a little bit of a revision and improvement if I want to keep going with pressing these out. So yeah, but I mean, hey, look, for something that's made out of scrap, can press out something that's reasonably half decent. So look, I won't complain about that too much. They look pretty good once they're all fitted in. Alright, so I've got the jacking point all mounted in to where I want it and where it needs to be, so that all fits killer on the car. I've also tacked in this rear flange, which will make up the gap in between the dogleg and the sill panel. I've also just sliced this dogleg just so I can straighten that up, so I can match all that up with the dogleg as you've seen in the other video. And what this bar is doing here is that's just a bit of square tube. I think it's about 3mm thick, I reckon. I've just clamped that into place because when I weld this in, I don't want that that sill panel bowing or curving in, because what they tend to do is they sort of want to then draw back in like this, and when you look down the side of the car, they'll have a big bow in them. So yeah, I don't want that. So I've just clamped that into place. Ideally, if you've got a steel bench, clamp your sill to the steel bench, but I don't have a steel bench, so I'm just mucking around on trestles with a bit of scrap 1.6. But yeah, that's fine. That'll do the job. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. I've also just ran a cutting disc through the joints through here and a little bit just through my tacks, just so when I do fully weld this, I'll make sure I get plenty of penetration and the weld really bites on through. So yeah, I don't have to worry about that being paper thin or having basically no weld left there. So yeah, it's a little bit different when you sort of go from the 1mm steel to the 1.6. But yeah, hey look, that's just the way it is, so that's the way I do it. Now to get this all welded in. Alright, so we're back out in the shed. I spent a little bit more time just playing around with everything on this. Now I think I've got it fitting exactly how I want it. So now it's time to pull it apart and start cleaning up the inner sill, coating everything internally, and just sorting everything out. So yeah, I ended up having to fill in a little piece just through here because there was a bit missing. Whoever cut out that part of the sill panel just cut that part as well, so I've still got a little bit of cleanup to do in this corner, but I'm not too worried about that. I had to weld it underneath the dogleg because I didn't want to join the sill to the dogleg. So yeah, if later on down the track I decide I want to take off this part, I can just undo these spot welds. So yeah, that just makes it a little bit easier for myself. I have got the sill panel spaced out a little bit, which is why this roller is here. That's just helping with the alignment. I think when I start to get it welded, I'm going to get it tacked in a few places, and then I'll probably run the cutting disc through a few spots, make sure everything's got a nice gap for the weld to lay into. So yeah, it's coming around though. I'm very happy with it. Sill panel gap looks really good. All seems to be fitting pretty well, so yeah, I've checked it for straightness as well. It's straight. I played around with this a little bit more and I've got it to fit a little bit better. The door still sticks out a little bit, but like it's not real bad, so I'm not going to get too worried about it. So yeah, but that all fits really nicely now. Alright, so I've just spent a little bit of time cleaning up the inside of the sill. Just been wire wheeling inside there, a little bit with a clean strip disc. Nothing too crazy in there. hasn't cleaned up too bad. Ideally, yes, I would wheel this thing outside and I'd sandblast all in there, but for this one, I'm not going to do it because I don't really want to fill up the car with garnet or sandblast any of the good paint. So this one I'm just going to coat with the Worth rust converter, and then I'll seal it up with some black etch primer in there. So hey, look, that'll be fine. I don't have a worry doing that. It's definitely more than what they would have had from factory, so yeah, should last me a good while. Alrighty, so I've got everything prepped up, got all this all cleaned up, rust converted, black etched, weld through primer on the join. Same with inside the sill. Hasn't come up looking too bad, I don't reckon. Try to sort of get as much as possible up under here, just so we can try and preserve what's there. Got the brush and stuff all in between the joint of the inner sill and the floor pan, and then blew it all in and then recoated it again. And yeah, that hasn't come up looking too bad, I don't reckon. Again, everything's been black etched, apart from the joint underneath where I'll do the plug welds. That's got the weld through primer on it. Looking pretty honest in there now. Happy with that. Alrighty, so I've got the sill all tacked in now. Everything's looking really good. The sill panel is straight. It's flush with the doors. Flush with the sill, the dog leg. So we're all looking pretty good now. Even the gap's looking pretty good for these raggedy ass doors. So pretty happy with that. Like I said, it's only got a few tacks holding it in place. It's all pretty well, you know, pretty good in there, I reckon. It's looking not too bad. I ended up using, because I found the front of the sill was sort of sucking in just a little bit, so I ended up getting my roller and I slid it from here because the gap's a little bit bigger. Sorry, I'll actually film it. The gap's a little bit bigger at the front of the sill here, so I was managed to slide it all the way down. And I got to about here, put a tack on it, moved it, put a tack on it, moved it, put a tack on it, and so on. And that's sort of that's given me a nice sort of fitment up to the door now. So yeah, I'm really happy with all of that. Like, it's nice and flush, so that's what I was after. Rise and shine, ladies and gentlemen. What the hell have I done this morning? Not a whole lot. So obviously whipped the doors off. That's probably the most obvious thing, and you've seen the time lapse. Just ran myself a cutting disc through the joints just to open them up just a little bit. I'm going to get a few more tacks on these, and then I'll run through these tacks that I put in originally just to sort of get the fit up right. Just so I definitely know I've got penetration through there. Yeah, but apart from that, everything's looking really, really good. So I'm really happy with that. It's, yeah, this one's come up actually really well so far. Hasn't really been a whole lot of trouble, apart from the little bit of issues that I had with the doors and not being able to tap those wonky corners around from people opening them up into walls, curbs, that kind of thing. Sometimes they get a little bit banged around on the corners, but that's fine. A little bit of a gap there, but that's not a worry. I'll fill that up, no dramas. It's nice fitment through there. Too early in the morning. Alright, sill panel's all welded on. Hasn't come up looking too bad. Can't really see my joint apart from a few little light grinding marks. So pretty happy with that. Still a little bit more grinding to do in this back corner. All the plug welds finished off underneath pretty nicely. Jacking point's come up looking pretty good, I reckon. Just about ready to put some etch primer on it, and then I'll slap the doors back on, make a start on the other side. Alright, that's the job done there. Still might do a little bit more adjustment in the doors, but I'll do that once the car's back on the ground. They're a little bit awkward when they're up in the air like that, but it's not too bad. I don't think it's quite where it was before, but like I said, it's not too bad. It's sort of in the ballpark, so I'm happy with that for now. It's all tidied up in there pretty nicely. Bit of a mark just from the door sill. So still sealing up. But yeah. Not too bad, I don't reckon. Alright, so that's a wrap up for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe. And yeah, see you next week. Cheers.